So in my last video, I couldn't quite fit the last two problems that I wanted to talk about with 7-7. So I'm going to have you go to number 19 in the book, or in the worksheet. Number 19, it looks a little bit like this. And we are looking to find the area right here. We've done two problems that were similar, so hopefully all of this practice helps. So the first thing, like I said, that we need to do is find the area of the entire circle, which is pi r squared. Now we know the radius is 5, so 5 squared is 25. So the area of the circle is 25 pi. Now we need to also figure out how much of the circle is this 60-degree segment. So to do that, we know that all of the angles added together is going to be 360. So 60 out of 360 is 6. So it's 1/6 of the triangle that we're looking at here for this pizza slice there. So we need to take 25 pi times 1/6, or you could just have divided it by 6, however you like to do that. So let's say 25 pi over 6 is the area of this section right here. So we need that. Now we also need, all we need now is to subtract the area of this triangle right here. So I'm going to draw this triangle. It's 60 degrees, so what we can do is do a little something like that, where we have a 90-degree angle. We know that this angle was 60, so we've got 30, I can't really write that in, 30, 90, 60. So we can use our formula that we've been using for the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Let's see. Since this is 60 degrees and we know these are the same, we know these two angles are the same as well, which means that they have to be 60 degrees. And if all of these angles are 60 degrees, then we can assume that this is 5, this is 5, and this is 5. So our 30, 60, 90 triangle, the base is 2.5. And we need to find we know the hypotenuse is 5. So we need to find the long leg. If you remember, the long leg equals the short leg times the square root of 3. So 2.5 times the square root of 3 is this short leg. Now to find the area of a triangle, we know this is the height. The height is 2.5 times the square root of 3. We need to take base times 1/2 the base times height. So 1/2 of 5, and then the height was 2.5 times the square root of 3. Okay, I'm going to erase this. 1/2 of 5 is 2.5, so we have 2.5 times 2.5 times the square root of 3. And I'm just going to do that in my calculator real quick. So I'm gonna leave the square root of 3. I decided to leave that in there. So I have 6.25 times the square root of 3 is the area of this triangle. So I need to take this minus this. I'm going to erase again to give us some space. So this is the area of this pizza slice. This is the area of the triangle. If we subtract the triangle from the pizza slice, it should leave us with this area right here. So 25 pi over 6 minus 6.25 times the square root of 3. And this is asking that we round our numbers to the nearest whole numbers. So we can calculate this entirely and see what we get. I'm going to do that right now. So 25 pi divided by 6 is about 13.09. 6.25 times the square root of 3 is about 10.83. If I subtract those, I get 2.26. And this says round your answers to the nearest whole number. So the nearest whole number is going to be 2. So your answer is 2. That was a tough one. So don't feel bad if you had a little bit of a struggle with it. And I'm sure you were doubting yourself all along because of all these crazy numbers. But at the end, it is just 2. Last one I want to talk about is number 20. looks a little something like this. We're doing another segment of a circle, the shaded area right there. So we need to start with the entire area of the circle, which is area equals pi r squared. So we know that the diameter is 8, means the radius is half of that, so the radius is 4. 4 squared is 16, so the area is 16 pi. Hopefully you followed that. We've done it several times. Okay. Oops. Now we need to figure out what fraction of the circle we're actually looking at when we look at this big pizza slice there. So this is a straight line. That means that these two angles are complementary, I believe. Complementary, yes. And they add up to 180. So if we know that this one is 60, that means this one has to be 120. All right, so 120 of 360 as the total, so 120 divided by 360. I actually don't know that off of the top of my head, but I think it's 1/3. 120, oops, divided by 360 is 1/3. Okay. So we need to take 16 pi times 1/3, which is going to be 16 pi divided by 3. That's the area of this circle. I'm just going to write that up here so we know, or sorry, 16 pi over 3 is the area of this pizza slice. So now we need to figure out the area of this triangle so that we can subtract that, because we've already gotten this big area, so we just need to subtract the little circle that's not shaded, and then we'll know what this is. So in order to find the height, or the area of this triangle, we need to know the height, which means we need to know this distance. So what we can do is actually pull this triangle out and figure out that distance. We know it's a 90-degree angle because I just drew a perpendicular line. We know this is 60, so this is 90, so that has to be 30, so we can use our 30, 60, 90 formula again! So let's see here. We know that this hypotenuse has to be 4 because it's a radius of the circle. That's the only length that we know, so we can assume, let's see here, we need to do a couple of problems here. We need to figure out the short leg. So the hypotenuse equals 2 times the short leg. So 4 equals 2 SL. That means that the short leg is 2. Okay? And then we know the long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. I'm not going to write it out because I've written it so many times. So this long leg is 2 times the square root of 3. All right, so that's the height of this triangle right here. The height of this triangle is 2 times the square root of 3. So to find the area of the triangle, we need to know it's 1/2 base times height is the area of a triangle. So we need 1/2 times the base of this triangle is the radius, so 4, and then the height is 2 times the square root of 3. Now I'm going to pause and calculate that because it's just asking us to round our answers to the nearest whole numbers. So I'm going to calculate that in my calculator. So when I calculated it, I got about 6.93. So that should be the area of this triangle here. So what we can do now is, this is the area of the entire pizza slice. This is the area of just that triangle. When we subtract that triangle from the pizza slice, it should leave us with the shaded area. So now we need to calculate 16 pi over 3, oops, and subtract 6.93 from that. So I'm going to do that too. 16 pi divided by 3 was about 16.76. So 16.76, which is the entire pie slice, minus 6.93, which is just the inside triangle, is 9.83. Rounded to the nearest whole number is 10. So our answer for number 20 is 10. Those were a little bit tricky, but most of the problems were similar, so it was a lot of repetition. So if you had trouble with one, you probably had trouble with all of those. So please let me know if you want more practice, if that wasn't enough for you to feel comfortable to do it on your own. I have extra worksheets for every single lesson, so I can give you those and work through them with you. Good luck on the rest of that, and I'll post another video tomorrow for practice 7-8.